But me, your man, Louie T, welcome to Sunday Night Football overtime. Chiefs, the City Chiefs, taking on the Bears. Sunday Night Football, very uneventful game. Very, very uneventful. This is as ho-hum as it gets. This was a dominant performance by the Chiefs. You know what? I kind of came to the realization of during this game, and I've talked about this before, maybe not to this extent, but I said this maybe, I think 3 weeks or so ago. Might have been that Patriots win, you know, when they beat the Patriots on, I believe it was Sunday afternoon. Either way, I remember having this discussion at some point, whether it was on my podcast or on one of these shows. I can't remember which is which. But I remember saying that this Chiefs defense is starting to come together. And I get it. It's the Bears offense. And they make everyone's defense look really good. But I've been actually really impressed with this Chiefs defense. Is it a great unit? No, it's not. Far from it. But coming from where they were last season, and I think the offense has taken a step back. I do not think the offense is as dynamic and explosive as it was once a year ago. And so they're not, I don't know if they're capable of getting into a 38-35 or a 41-38 or a 43-40 type shootout like they were last year and outlasting teams. I think they need to play a little bit better defense because that's just not who they are. Like last year, this game against the Bears, this would have been, 39-10. Like they would have drubbed them. They just kind of like, hey, let's beat them, but we don't have to go the extra mile to destroy these guys. Let's just do what we have to do and get out of here and move on. And what you're seeing from them is a level of maturity from a team that realized last year, look, it's cool to score 40 points, but it's even better to hold the opposition under 20. That'll get you a win most weeks in this league. I've said it before. I'll say it again, and I'll continue to say this. You hold teams under 20 in this league, you're going to win most weeks. All right? 8 times out of 10, you hold a team under 20 points, you're probably going to win the football game. In this league, you score up over 20 and you hold the opposition under 20, you got a great chance of winning. All right, most weeks. That's a winning formula and recipe. Absolutely. You score up over 20, you're going to give yourself a chance to win. But if you hold the opposition to less than 20, you should win. And the Chiefs dominated this game thoroughly. And I want to say this tonight. I haven't added in this element because I told you that Spagnuolo's defense is starting to get it. And they've got some talented pieces, Frank Clark and I think Bashaud Breeland. I'm a huge Bashaud Breeland fan. Same thing could be said for Kendall Fuller. I think these are all quality defenders. I've been really impressed with some of the other guys. Tyrann Mathieu, I wasn't quite sure what he was going to bring to the table. Love the UVA safety that they got last year in the draft. I think he's been a really welcome addition to that unit. And you're starting to see some of these players. We know what Chris Jones is. He's a stud. And you look around the rest of that group, they've been actually really impressive this season. And I think they're starting to get it. They're starting to understand what Spags is looking for them. They're an aggressive defense. And when I look at this team, you know what I feel like? And I don't know if this is true or not. This is just me shooting from the hip, honestly speaking. I feel like this is a team now that there's been a weight lifted off of their shoulders. This season, I don't think they've met the expectation that we set for them, that we put on them heading into this season. We thought they were going to be the Baltimore Ravens this year. We thought they were going to be the team that goes 13-3 or 14-2 and gets the number 1 seed. And they were going to have to be the team that slayed the Patriots in order for the Patriots not to make it 97 straight Super Bowl appearances out of the AFC. They were supposed to be that team. And right now, it looks like that team is the Baltimore Ravens. They've been charged with being the team that needs to knock off the Patriots so that they don't rule the AFC conference yet again and represent them in the Super Bowl for yet again another season in the NFL. And you know what? I think the Chiefs are really relishing the role of just kind of sitting in the background. No one's talking about the Chiefs. That expectation of them being the savior to stop the Patriots from making it to the Super Bowl again is off of them and onto the Ravens. No one's really giving them the kind of respect that they were getting prior to the season starting. I think a lot of people feel like when they lost those 3 straight games at home and they were struggling, like, this is not going to be the Chiefs season, and just kind of wrote them off. Mahomes had an injury. He was dealing with actually multiple injuries, and Tyreek Hill was in and out of the lineup, and he had dealt with a little bit of a issue early in the season and was suspended. And I really, or he wasn't suspended, but they weren't sure if he was going to be suspended or not, and they didn't really know what to expect. No one really said, man, this Chiefs team, they're dangerous again. I think everyone kind of just wrote them off at the midpoint of the season. And then they just quietly went about their business human-like. They, ran off about 5 out of 6. And all of a sudden you look up, here they are, 11-4, right in the thick of things. If the Patriots slip up next week, and they're not going to, it's the Miami Dolphins at the crib, they're going to win. But if they were to slip up next week and they take care of business versus the Chargers, which you have to assume that they will, they're 12-4, and they could easily slide into that first round bye slot. They won't, but they'll end up being a 3 seed in the AFC playoffs, and they'll probably beat whomever is the 6th seed, whether it be Tennessee or Pittsburgh. And I know you're saying, well, Tennessee beat them already. Well, that was in Tennessee, and that was a different Chiefs team. I surmise that if they play the Titans again, it won't be a repeat of what happened a few years ago when Marcus Mariota marched into Arrowhead down 21-3 in the third quarter and rallied them back and dominated the second half of that game, along with a dominant performance by Derrick Henry, leading them from behind to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. I assure you that will not take place again. And so whether it's the Steelers, who are not going to stroll into Arrowhead with Ben Roethlisberger and somehow win the game, 16-10 or 14-11, that's not happening this time around. I can assure you of that. Whatever the case may be, to me, they're the dark horse in the AFC. Nobody's talking about the Chiefs. Everybody's focused on the Patriots. Can they right the ship fast enough offensively to give them a realistic shot? Don't count the Patriots out. It's what they do. Until someone knocks them off, they're still the champs, yada, 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 yada. It's the Ravens, 12 Pro Bowl players. Lamar Jackson's going to win the MVP. They're dominant. They're running through the NFL like a hot butter knife through butter, yada, yada, yada. And quietly, nobody's talking about the Chiefs. Not a single soul. And here they are, 11-4, quietly going about their business, destroying teams that they're supposed to, winning the games against the teams you don't think they're going to win against, like New England on the road. And all of a sudden, here we are getting to the playoffs, and they may be playing their best football of the season. Offensively, they're getting healthier. I love Damian Williams. I'm a massive Damian Williams fan. Good to see him back tonight. They're over here load management, resting Shady McCoy, getting him ready for the postseason. All right. Tyreek Hill is in rare form. So is Travis Kelce. Anytime they get some clock out of Watkins, Samuel Watkins, you got to feel good. He's healthy right now. I look at this offense and I'm thinking, if they get it going, if all of these guys are healthy, if they're all well and they're ready to rock and roll come postseason time, they're probably the most formidable offense in the entire AFC side of the bracket. And I get what the Ravens are doing. And if you watch that game today, they had some guys suffer some injuries, all minor. Andrews was limping around a little bit, Lamar a little bit, Ingram left the game. They'll all be fine. And they're going to have ample time to rest. 3 weeks to be exact. None of them will play in Week 17 versus the Steelers. None of them will play in Wild Card Weekend because the Ravens will have a bye. And then they'll come back that following week, another week of rest. Practice, yeah, but they'll be ready to go. So don't worry about that. But, yeah, I know what the Ravens are doing is dynamic. But Lamar Jackson is the centerpiece of that. Just like Mahomes is the centerpiece of what the Chiefs do, but it's a little bit different in Kansas City you just feel like if they get it going, man, I don't know if there's an offense that can be more scarier than what this Chiefs team can put on the football field. At every single position, skill position-wise, they're dominant. Running back, wide receiver, tight end, quarterback, they're dangerous. And so they get their act together. And then the defense continues to build upon what we've seen down the stretch versus New England and last week versus the Broncos and this week versus the Bears. And I get it. It wasn't exactly murderer's row of offensive football teams in this league. I totally understand. You know, they dominated the Raiders. I don't think you understand what they've done of late. And I told you, I don't care who it is. That's what you guys fail to realize in this league is it doesn't matter who the opposition is. Take care of them. If they're bad, dispose of them as a bad football team. Throw them in the garbage. If they're garbage, then mash them up in the grinder like they did the Raiders. 40-10 or whatever that score was. All right, so you're telling me that the Denver Broncos aren't any good? Okay, then beat them up at home like they did last week. What was that, 23-3 or whatever it was? Okay, then do that to them. Okay, so you're telling me that the Bears aren't any good? Okay, then beat them 26-3. That's what they just did. All right, New England's offense stinks, then go shut them down. That's what they did. So I'm just telling you, don't kill me. I'm just a messenger. This Chiefs team, they're quietly going about their business, man. Nobody's talking about them. Nobody's giving them the kind of accolades or praise that the Ravens are getting, or no one's acknowledging their greatness like the Patriots have the all the titles and all the consecutive AFC championship games. I'm just saying, look out for the Chiefs. It wouldn't shock me if they are going to Miami and not the Ravens and not the and not the Patriots. You know who beat both the Ravens and the Patriots in the AFC? Nah, not Houston. Nah, not wait. No, I said that right. No, not Houston, because they got destroyed by the Ravens. Nah, not Pittsburgh. Nope, not Tennessee. The Kansas City Chiefs beat both the Ravens and the New England Patriots. I'm just saying, y'all better put some respect on their name, because they could be the ones heading to the Super Bowl representing the AFC. I think they're dangerous. I'm just saying. Anyway, Ed says, they should have flexed this game out. It's so frustrating to be a Bears fan, and it's very annoying how the NBC announcers kept bringing up the Mitchell Trubisky and Patrick Mahomes thing. So let's touch on that for a second. Let's touch on this game quickly. Dominant performance by the Chiefs on both sides of the football. Probably the most exciting thing that happened was the double doink by Harrison Butker. For the Bears, it's a disappointing season. After going 12-4 last year, winning the division, I think Bears fans came in. They may have had, outside of the Cleveland Browns and the unrealistic hype that they came into the season with, I don't think there was a fan base that came into the season with more expectations and hype surrounding their team than the Chicago Bears. I mean, the Bears fans were just absolutely geeked for this season after what they did last year. You know, Mitchell Trubisky seemed like he was ready to take that gigantic step forward. The defense was dominant, led by Khalil Mack and company. Matt Nagy could do no wrong last year. Tariq Cohen was an animal. It felt like the Bears were ready to do something big, and they were on the precipice of being an elite team. And then the shit hit the fan this year. The offense sputtered. Mitchell Trubisky got injured. He wasn't playing all that well, or at least not consistently enough. The defense had a ton of injuries. And Matt Nagy didn't handle the scrutiny that comes with losing games and mismanaging late clock and that kind of thing. And so it just kind of spiraled out of control. Then they rallied and they weathered the storm, and all of a sudden they looked up and they were 7-6, and they had a realistic shot, and they didn't get it done against the Packers last week. And so this is a team that just underachieved this year for whatever reason, well, you say what you want about him. It was disappointing. This game today was disappointing, and I just think next year they have to come with a better plan, and they need to be more diverse. I felt like too much was put on the shoulders, and we've done this already, so I don't want to do this again. I don't want every time the Bears play every game to be a referendum on Mitchell Trubisky, but they got to run the football more. They got the running backs to do it. I love David Montgomery. You know how I feel about him. I think he's going to be a stud. And I just think they need to be a little bit more diverse. I think they need to be a little bit more balanced. I think teams need to go into the game knowing that the Bears can and will run the football, and that wasn't the case this year. And so I thought it was a rough night for them. And credit the Chiefs for that. Credit the Chiefs for that. I thought they just went out and they just took it to them. And it was like a methodical beatdown. It wasn't like, just a dominant beatdown where you're just like, all right, let me jump on live midway through the third quarter. I could have. But this was a systematic, methodical ass whooping. The kind where you just like, man, can you just get this over with, please? And they never really just went in for the kill shot. They just kind of eased their way through this ass whooping. So, anyway, let's get to the comment section. And so Ed said he was really sick of the comparisons. Look, you're never going to escape that. That's when quarterbacks are drafted the way that they were, they're always going to be joined at the hip. Like Marcus Mariota and Jameis Winston will always be joined at the hip, whether they like it or not, whether they end their careers with the teams that drafted them or not, they're always going to be joined at the hip. All right. When you talk about the class of 2016, you're going to talk about Mahomes, you're going to talk about Watson, you're going to talk about Mitchell Trubisky. And he was drafted before those guys, and their careers have taken off and blossomed. And while his is kind of stagnant, he's always going to be compared to those guys. It's just what it is. You can't get away from it. You can't escape it. It is what it is. Dwayne Haskins and Daniel Jones will forever be linked with one another. Haskins said the league done messed up. Everyone chastised the Giants for taking Daniel Jones so early. And so they're always going to be joined at the hip. They just are. All right. And so you get how this works. I don't have to explain it to you. So you knew they were going to do this tonight. And every time those quarterbacks face off, and it won't be very often, so you don't have to worry about this because one's in the AFC, one's in the NFC. They're only going to play each other once every 4 years. So you don't have to worry about this all the time, but it's what's going to take place. It just is. And so did they overdo it tonight? Sure they did. But the game didn't give them something to talk about. So, if you wanted them to stay away from this and not beat this thing dead, then you needed to actually give them some action on the field that would take their minds off of the same narrative over and over again. And it just wasn't there tonight. This game didn't have a lot of juice or excitement. And so you saw this one coming a mile away. Ed says, it's going to be a long offseason for us. We need to improve to go where we want to go this season. It was just a disaster. We need to improve all around. I agree. I think there were some things. I thought more so than anything else, there just was some shortcomings. And I thought the Bears struggled to overcome some adversity early in the season. And by the time that they did, the damage had already been done to their season. And so I think it's more of a learning experience, but also you do have some areas you need to improve upon. I thought the depth of this team was tested, and I don't know if they always passed in all the areas of this football team. But in spite of some of those things happening throughout the course of the year, I think you learned a lot about this football team, and it may help them grow for the future. So I wouldn't count the Bears out, down the road. But this was a humbling experience for the Bears. I felt like Matt Nagy, he got a little bit too big for his britches. Felt like he started to smell himself a bit. And the NFL has a very cruel way, but yet very satisfying way of humbling your ass, okay? And sometimes you need that. Sometimes you start to think that your doo-doo don't stink. And so when you start thinking that, man, I got this thing all figured out, got it all sewn up like a teller, relatively easy like Jerry Heller, that's when the league got to come back and smack the shit out of you and remind you that, hey, you just a little peon, boy. And Matt Nagy had to have that happen to him this year. But you know what? I didn't think he handled it well initially, but I thought he weathered the storm well when it was all said and done. And I thought this team did some good things. And to finish 8-8, which they have a legitimate shot of doing next week with the win versus the Vikings. And they'll want to win that game because the Vikings will have something on the line, whether they win or lose this football game. There'll be some things on the line for them. If they lose on Monday night, it'll be less climactic. But if they win, division's on the line, the Bears will have every right and reason to want to knock those boys off. So get to 8-8, and I think from where you were at one point this season, 8-8, not too bad, not too shabby. So Captain Spartan 04 says, first off, Merry Christmas to you and your family. Likewise, man. Merry Christmas and happy holidays to all of you guys out there, you and yours. Remember, this is the final telecast. Tomorrow will be the final telecast, of the season for me. I'm on a bye week next week, so not going to get anything out of me next week. So I'm not going to see you after tomorrow before Christmas again. So happy holidays, man. Merry Christmas to you and yours. And a Happy New Year as well. Hopefully you stay safe, bring in the new year the right way, and get ready. We're going to start this engine back up for the postseason, and we're going to do it the right way. And we're going to power this engine into the offseason, into the draft, and we're going to continue to build on the momentum that we build on the Louie T Network in 2019 into 2020. So, yes, happy holidays and Merry Christmas to you and yours out there as well. Blackbird Blitz, I see your jokes, okay? And when I said it, I said, I hope they understand what I just said, but I could understand how it could have been misconstrued. Obviously, if you score over 20 points and you hold the opposition to under 20, I was talking about in any given game. I wasn't talking about in the same game. Like if you score 20 and you hold the team that you're playing to under 20, you win every time, okay? I hear your jokes, okay? I was just saying in any given game, if you hold your opponent to under 20 and you score over 20. So generally speaking, if you can score north of 23 points in an NFL game, you should win 7 times out of 10. You should theoretically win. It's not hard to score 24 points in this league. It's not. But you'd be surprised at how many teams struggle to do that on a week-in, week-out basis. If you can hold a team under 20 points, you should win 9 times out of 10, 8 times out of 10, for sure. Like, you should be able to score 20, and if the other team can't score 20, you should be able to win most weeks in this league. You get what I'm saying. You're a jerk for that one. Captain Spartan says, man, I'm not going to lie. I don't want to be in the playoffs. We're just going to be there to lose. I also don't want the defense to lose their confidence by losing to the Chiefs. It's so frustrating. And you know what? I don't feel bad for the Steelers because they could have rectified this problem by going out and getting a veteran at the trade deadline. They could have went out and got Andy Dalton. They could have went out and got Colt McCoy, Case Keenum, somebody. Anybody's better than what they got right now. They deserve what they have because had they just went out and got a veteran to stabilize their situation, that team is actually capable defensively of winning the Super Bowl. They're that good on defense. It's a damn shame that they got 2 quarterbacks that just aren't ready for the show. Simply put, you know what's crazy is that if this team had Ben Roethlisberger, they may be the favorite in the AFC right now. And the year that he gets hurt, they may not be able to duplicate this defensive effort that they've been putting out week in, week out. They may not be able to duplicate this next year when Ben is healthy. And they may go back to being an okay defense, not dominant. They're dominant right now. And they just don't have it on the offensive side of football. And that's a crying shame. Michael Thompson says the Chiefs are more balanced this year. They aren't as offensively strong, but they're much better on defense. Agreed. 110%. Let's see. Skins Hawk says, I love the speech at the end of the Rapid Report, bro. We love you, and we look forward to your videos every day. Great job. Hashtag Merry Christmas. Hashtag HTTR. Hey, man. I meant every word of it, too. Hey, look, at the end of the day, there are going to be a lot of fans out there that can't root for the Redskins to lose, especially to the Cowboys. I get that, and I'm not telling you to do that, but I'm just not going to be right there rooting with you. I'm sorry, I just can't do it this week or next week. But it's all love, man, and look forward to you guys chopping it up with me in the future and doing big things. And as I mentioned, this channel is continuing to grow. And the brand is continuing to grow, and it's because of you guys out there. You guys that join me on these streams, every primetime game. You guys out there that are Redskins fan that join me for every Redskins nightly news or every R3 or every live stream. It's you guys out there that are continuing to help this brand grow. So thank you so much for what you guys do for the Louie T Network. Hype Dude says, Merry Christmas to you and yours. Likewise, bro. Likewise. HTTR for Life says, I would love to see a Seahawks Chiefs Super Bowl. So much talent in the league right now. That would be interesting, but I don't know if I want to see the Seahawks in the Super Bowl. I don't. I don't know if I want to see that. There's too many good teams in the NFC that I would really prefer to see in that on that stage outside of Seattle. But Seattle's got their own set of problems right now that they've got to deal with, including trying to figure out how to protect the house, especially against the Arizona Cardinals. They just can't seem to beat the Cardinals at home for whatever reason. Cardinals just know how to play them and know how to play them in Seattle. It's just crazy. Anyway, Captain Spartan 04 says, Chiefs could be a good team for Jordan Howard. I think that would actually be a good fit. You know what's ironic is that Matt Nagy, who came from Kansas City, said that Jordan Howard wasn't a good fit for the Bears, and which is why he got rid of him. And then he would end up going to Kansas City and being a great fit where he came from, which means he should have been a good fit theoretically in Chicago, if that makes any sense. But we'll see what happens. Anyway, Captain Spartan 04 says, how do you think Mahomes handled this Madden curse? I know he got hurt, but he still has a chance to break it in and win the Super Bowl. I think he's done really well considering the circumstances of his season, the injuries, not just to his kneecap, but also remember he was dealing with an ankle injury earlier in the season, and so I think he's handled himself well, and he's not trying to do too much either. I just love what he's doing, and again, quietly, he's under the radar, but his numbers are stellar yet again. So I think he's done really well, and he's got his team in a position to strike in the NFC or AFC playoffs. Gregory Lightbody says, how do you know Chase Young can be elite in the NFL? Because I've seen, I know the traits that you need to have to be elite in this league. I don't know anything for certain. You can't be certain about any one player or anything. I can just tell you this. Everything that you need to be elite in this league, he possesses. And generally, guys like him don't fail in this league. All right? You just don't see it. And the Ohio State boys that have come in of late as pass rushers have all had the hand usage. They've all had the technique and the skill, and he's better than all of them. He just set the Ohio State sack record for a season. And remember, he was out for 2 games due to NCAA rules and regulations. So this is a guy right now that I just look at, and I see everything that you need to have to be an elite defensive player. Generally, we're not wrong about those guys at the top of the draft, whether it's a Myles Garrett or a Khalil Mack or Jadeveon Clowney. Those guys are elite for a reason, and they go number 1, number 2 for a reason, and he's going to fall right in line with those guys. He's going to be an elite player. Von Miller, we don't miss on those guys very often. When we see elite defensive talent at edge rusher, we know it when we see it. There are other positions where you can think a guy's going to be elite and he turns out not to be. But generally, it's not often. It's not very often that you see one of these guys at a position like that not pan out. It just doesn't happen very often. Blackbird Blitz says, I agree. You're very witty. So I got to take shots when I can. You got me. I lobbed that one up. I lobbed it up. And you spiked it on my head. I deserve that one. Captain Spartan 04 says, we Steelers have held them to under 26 straight weeks, and we're 3-3 in that span. It just goes to show you how inept that offense has been. It's a damn shame because they deserve better. They really do. And their defense is one of the best to watch this year. I've had the most fun probably watching their defense fly around this year as anybody's out there. San Francisco and Baltimore, when they've had it going this season, they've been fun to watch. But the Steelers defense has been so much fun to watch this year, but unfortunately the offense has been just as bad to watch. And that to me, that stat that just was thrown out by Captain Spartan 04 is to me a microcosm of their season. And really it encapsulates everything that the Steelers have been this year, which is really good on defense, really porous on offense. Gregory Lightbody says, I'm not worried about losing to the Cowboys. Remember 2 years ago we lost to the 2-14 Giants the last game of the season. I understand that. I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. That's all. Gregory Lightbody says, Redskins are going to need more than one DN than just Chase Young. The 49ers have like 4 Chase Youngs. But he'll make everyone else around him better. You know, as I just mentioned on the show earlier, Eric Armstead, 3 sacks in his NFL career coming into this season, and he had 11 this year. I'm not saying Nick Bosa was solely responsible for that, but the attention that he attracts and the amount of pressure that he applies to NFL offensive lines force them to double team him and have to force other guys to pay attention when they're running twists and stunts, and all of a sudden guys just come free. When the talent is there, it starts to show when you add more talent around. And so a guy like Chase Young can make everybody that much better. We'll see what happens, though. HTTR for Life says, always watch and listen to your podcasts and streams. Big fan, man. Merry Christmas to you and your family likewise. And I thank you so much for your support and ask that you continue to support the movement. I really do appreciate all that you guys do in helping the Louie T Network continue to grow and be prosperous. And I ask that you continue to support as we move into what I feel like is a very bright future for this brand and channel. JP says, well, Lou, we may have locked up Chase Young with the Skins loss today. I'm not committing to that. You said the same thing earlier, and I shut you down earlier. I'm going to shut you down again right now. I'm not committing to that. Gregory Lightbody says, I can't believe the Raiders still have a chance at the playoffs. They don't. They don't. Technically, yes, they do at 8-8. A lot of things would have to happen. They're not going to get it, though. I don't know what the Texans are going to do with their final game of the season. I don't know what the Ravens are going to do with their final game of the season, but one of those two teams are going to win, if not both of them. And then the Raiders also have to win themselves, and I don't know if they're going to do that or not. We'll see. I mean, the Broncos, they're not looking to lay down. Drew Lock is building something out there. That's, their second win in 3 weeks, and I think they're going to continue to try to win, or excuse me, that's their third win in 4 weeks. I think they're going to try to continue to win ball games, and I don't know if the Raiders are going to win themselves, but yes, technically speaking, the Raiders are still alive. Anyway, that's going to do it, guys. Chiefs dominate this game 26-3. This game was never in doubt. Never thought the Bears had a chance going into the game. Never thought the Bears had a chance during the game. And the Chiefs were the far superior football team. They showed it tonight. And I think the biggest takeaway from the game should be that this Chiefs defense is coming along at a very good pace, right in time for the postseason. No one's talking Chiefs. No one's looking at the Chiefs as a true contender in the AFC. At least I'm not hearing enough people talk about the Chiefs. It's all Ravens. It's all Patriots. I'm just saying, look out for the Kansas City Chiefs, as this defense has been gaining confidence. I don't care who the opposition has been. They're gaining confidence down the stretch. Shut down New England, shut down Oakland, shut down the Broncos, shut down the Bears. I know it's not the murderer's row of offensive football teams. I do not care. They've shut these teams down and did what you're supposed to do to inferior offensive football teams. They're looking really good as we get closer to the postseason. So I'm your man, Louie T, signing off. I thank you guys for joining me. Like this video, subscribe to Louie T Network if you haven't already done so. Looking forward to chopping it up with you guys one final time for 2019. A massive game in the NFC North Division as the Green Bay Packers look to lock up the division crown with a win on the road against the Kirk Cousins-led Minnesota Vikings football team without Dalvin Cook. And keep in mind, Kirk Cousins winless in his Monday Night Football career. I think it's now 0-8 or something along those lines. Gonna have to break that streak if the Vikings are to have any shot at winning the division. Still open. We'll see what happens. But in any event, if it's not your man T, it's not the best NFL coverage it could be. Thank you guys for joining me. I'll see you next time. Enjoy the rest of your night, and we'll come back and reconvene tomorrow. Take care.
Louie T Network.